Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm going to use my gavel this time, make it really official. I'm going to call to order the public hearing on file number 2022-17, and the title or the name of the applicant is AFP Systems JB Mac. It's a site plan review. I'll kind of go through this relatively fast since at least everybody here has already heard this. So we'll conduct the hearing tonight as follows. Staff's going to present the staff report. If I have questions, I'll ask staff when they're finished. Then we'll jump to the public hearing for testimony, and we'll have time limits as follows. Applicant has 30 minutes. That's split between presentation and rebuttal. Both people in favor of and opposed to the application, they'll get 4 minutes each. Then rebuttal if the applicant has any. At that point, the public testimony will be closed, and we'll hear any final comments from staff. If I have any questions of staff, I will ask them at that point, and then again, the record will be open for 7 days. So there's not going to be a decision from me this evening. Okay, if you're participating virtually and have signed up to speak 24 hours in advance, staff will recognize you when it is your time to provide testimony. Just state your name and address for the record, please. And likewise, if you're in the audience and wish to speak, fill out one of the forms that we talked about earlier and give that to staff, and I will recognize you when it's time. Any questions, feel free to address those to me. And then in reaching a decision on the application, I have to consider whether it meets relevant approval criteria in the city's land use regulations. Those criteria are in the staff report. That report is available online, also available here tonight, and was accessible 7 days prior to this meeting. Please keep testimony and evidence related to these criteria. Or if you think other criteria apply, tell us why. Failure to raise an issue tonight with enough detail to enable me, the applicant, and the parties in general to respond to the issue will prevent an appeal on that issue. And the applicant, failure by the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues regarding proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow me to respond prevents an action in circuit court for damages. I've had no ex parte contacts regarding this application, and I hold no bias or conflicts of interest. That said, does any participant wish to challenge my ability to conduct this hearing? No, there's none out there, and I'm assuming we have none online. Okay, excellent. Staff, the report, please.
All right, thank you. David Eric Rutledge, Associate Planner here at the city. I'm happy to be given the presentation for LU 2022-017 JB Mac AFP Systems. This is a site plan review. The applicant is Matthew Bridegroom with CETA Architecture. The proposal is for a 22,500 square foot industrial building and site improvements. Zoning on the property is light industrial, and this is subject to the type 3 land use action. Any appeal, we don't expect one, but if there was an appeal, go to Planning Commission. The application materials are available at this red link down below. Notice of the application was provided in accordance with city code. This includes mailed notice to property owners within 1,000 feet of the site. We also sent the application to affected agencies and have agency comments. Those have been incorporated into the staff report. And to today's date and up until now, no public comments received, and again, no one on line hoping to provide testimony. The application timeline, so we're here on September 1st. As you mentioned, leave the record open for a week. The city's preference on getting a notice of decision out is September 28th, 2022. This would allow us to get on an appeal. Again, we don't expect one, but on a regularly scheduled planning commission date. But our sort of very back end date for getting out a notice of decision is October 12th, and that would allow enough time to get to an appeal within the 120-day deadline. And so here's would be the potential dates for planning commission appeal. And then the 120-day deadline is November 25th, 2022. The applicable criteria shown on this slide for reference, staff report, and the application from the applicant go over these standards in detail. Happy to answer any questions on any specifics. And we do have on this application some revisions and new information. And David, I'll send this to you and your staff so you have it. First is Exhibit B1. I noticed these are the City of Sherwood engineering comments. I noticed that just in my working with them, had struck through a whole bunch of language. And so, no strike throughs are actually intended in part of that, as part of that document. So we have a cleaned up version that just removes all the strike through, same exact text, just cleaning up the document. And then Exhibit B5 and Exhibit B6, these comments came in after the release of the staff report. So first one from DSL, just confirming that there does not appear to be any wetlands on the site. If there's wetlands within a certain proximity, we send that notice to them. They responded that wetlands are not likely to be on the site in concurrence with the applicant's submittal. And then Exhibit B6, comments from Portland Western Railroad. These comments came in addition to ODOT rail comments, and staff did clarify with them that this Exhibit B6, because they're coming from the railroad, would supersede any ODOT rail comments. So there's just one area where they conflict. The ODOT comments say no discharge of stormwater into their right-of-way, and the Portland and Western comments say that you can discharge stormwater into their right-of-way under certain circumstances, and they lay out the circumstances in that letter. There is a comment in the ODOT rail letter about fencing, and that would still stand. And that the comments on storm would supersede those from the ODOT rail.
I'm assuming that's going to affect, sorry for jumping in, a condition of approval to some extent. Is that what the next one is, or?
Yeah, yes, and that's a good point. And actually, before we wrap this up, when the applicant's talking, I can pull there's just one condition that's related to storm where it'll say no storm discharge per the ODOT comment. So we should strike that and just replace it really with I'd say compliance with Exhibit B6 comments is probably appropriate.
Okay.
For storm. Yeah, we can do that as part of this as well. And then a few, I'm getting a note to speak louder. And then a few changes to the conditions of approval. Condition of approval C3. The city's engineering department let us know that the existing streetlights in front of Zenport development, which is adjacent to the site, the city will be changing out those street lights. So we're going to use different street lights than what is currently there. And we would like the street lights for this development to match what the city puts down in the near future. And so we're saying, don't match what's at Zenport now. We're striking that. So we're just going to leave it simple and say street lighting to meet City of Sherwood standards. And then those would be the updated lights that we install, and then they would install the same ones afterwards. And then condition of approval C1 and C2, the applicant requested this change and we are okay with it. This is around the timing of the dedication for the roadway of Oregon Street, and then the dedication of an easement for the sidewalk as well. And so this would be instead of prior to issuance of an engineering compliance agreement, the language would be prior to acceptance of public improvements, they dedicate the roadway and the easement, and we're okay with that. That makes sense to us as well.
Okay, and that's to C1 and C2.
Both C1 and C2, yep. So just the timing would change and the remainder would stay the same. Again, no public comments received. Getting into the details of the site. So this is 14843 Southwest Oregon Street, located on the north side of Oregon Street, outlined here in red. The existing conditions, site is approximately 4 acres in size. It's vacant, cleared of any significant vegetation. This was the site of the former tannery in Sherwood. However, the site has been cleaned and remediated to DEQ standards. So no further action required from DEQ on the site. Zoning and surrounding land uses, the site is zoned light industrial, surrounded by light industrial or light industrial PUD in all directions. We do have residential zoning and existing development to the south of Oregon Street. So staff did take a close look at the code as it relates to, any condition, code standards related to setbacks, height, mitigation of impacts, et cetera, related to the residential neighborhood to the south. And so those have all, any specific requirements or standards have been incorporated into the staff reporting conditions. The proposed use, this is for AFP Systems. They manufacture and install fire protection systems for commercial, residential, industrial development. So the best use to fit them under would be building, heating, plumbing, contractors and suppliers and similar uses, which is permitted outright. They're also doing warehousing on the site, permitted outright, and then business and professional offices limited to 5,000 square feet, but they'll also have up to 5,000 square feet of office, but everything permitted outright in the light industrial zone. Development standards, I won't go over all of them, just to say, here's the light industrial standards and what is proposed, and the proposed development meets the development standards of the light industrial zone. And then the site plan, the site is outlined here in red. This is the new building here. My understanding is that the rear of the site and to the north of the building will be used for outdoor storage. So these would be racks for storage of material, approximately 12 feet tall. And then, of course, warehousing, manufacturing, and office inside the building, parking in front of the building and along the perimeter of the site. Access would be through an existing private access and utility easement that goes to Oregon Street. So the access is shown here, connecting to Oregon Street. The landscape plan, so landscaping shown along the drive aisle coming into the site and around the perimeter of the site. This would be important for the screening. And I should mention there is proposed a 6-foot tall fence with slats to obscure, the outdoor storage, and then also trees and shrubs along the perimeter on the inside of the fence for additional screening. And that would continue around the perimeter of the site. Stormwater swell here at the north corner. Industrial zones like this one require 30% tree canopy over the site. So they established that through new plantings, and the final proposals for 36% tree canopy over the site. Building design, all the different building walls are shown here. There are no industrial design standards that apply to this project. Oregon Street is a collector, and so if this building was within 200 feet of Oregon Street, we would have industrial design standards. But because this building is greater than 200 feet from the roadway and will eventually be screened from the roadway by other buildings, no industrial design standards apply. But here's the proposal, the height within the limitation of the zoning district. And then public improvements, in addition to just all the other utilities that they'll be installing to serve the site. I think the big one is the street improvements. Here's just a plan view of the public improvements. So they would match what is existing to the west of the property, the Zenport site. This is a 12-foot wide sidewalk. This is the property is along the Ice Age Trail, sorry about that, the Ice Age Sherwood Trail. And so for that reason, extended sidewalks at 12 feet instead of 6 feet for a multi-use path. And the applicant is proposing that as part of the development project. And with that, staff recommendation is for approval of LU 2022-017, subject to the findings and conditions in the staff report dated August 25th, 2022. With the revisions that went over in the presentation this evening. That concludes the presentation. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Eric. Not really anything of terrible substance. I guess one thing would be the updated communication from the railroad. I'm assuming the applicant has that. They've seen it.
Yeah, they have that.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
all the changes the applicant's aware of.
Thanks. And then I guess it's more just curiosity, but I was noticing, in your staff report and then in the code itself, it talks about This has to do with the office space in the zone at 5,000 square foot per outlet. What is the outlet?
That's a great question. I've went round and round on that when I first got here. We actually, so outlet we equate that to a business. And then there's another
Okay.
standard that I believe talks about, it's a different word than outlet, but I think in a development project or something that says you can have 20,000 square feet.
Yeah,
And so
overall, right?
That is defined as a site plan application. So site plan in total 20,000 square feet office, and then you can have up to 4 businesses times 5,000 square feet. So an outlet would be a business.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Nope, nothing else. It was really, it goes for both of your staff reports, frankly. Very, very clear. Application was as well. So we will go on now to applicant testimony. And so again, that 30 minutes, if you need it all, that's just fine. And then if you have any rebuttal time, make sure you keep that too.
Is this working? Oh, look at that. Okay. On behalf of the applicant's team, my name is Dirk Otis. I'm the owner's representative for the project. My address for Stratus Real Estate Developers is 19363 Willamette Drive, number 133, West Lynn, 97068.
Good evening.
Tonight, as the presentation by staff was pretty straightforward, I'm not going to get up here and argue with myself, but I will add a couple of other components that I think are relative. You've said that it's important that you stick with the constitutional and the factual components of the application. I just want to make comment that the proposed business, AFP, is currently located in Tualatin, indigenous to the area almost. Owners live in Sherwood. Their current use in Tualatin will basically be replicated here at this new location. It's not a giant expansion or any kind of a change of posture for them. And by that, I think it's been easy to show compliance with the codes that Eric has put in front of us. So in terms of personal fit, and we understand the situation with a nearby residential zone, and we've thought about it, and we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't think that it was going to long-term going to be compatible. I will say that we are aware of the letter that I think arrived yesterday from the railroad. Couple things, the screening I think is an easy one, and we'll take care of that offline. The storm comments, we've had multiple comments with staff, and the ODOT letter was previously thought to be the gospel, but apparently it will not be. We still think that through more information that their perspective can be taken into account, and we're going to succeed. So just as a matter of confidence, I think we're not daunted by it, but we want to talk about it. Let's see here. In terms of timing, we are asking for a public street improvement to occur first along the frontage. And I don't know if that's necessarily relevant in the staff report, but we are concurrently in for a public works permit to do the street work and initiate that first because of the PGE interaction at the other end, which makes it somewhat complicated. So most of our application has been pre-planned around getting the street work approved, timing to be built around, frankly, winter weather, and then come back in the later part of, or the middle part of next year, and it comes together. So I think that was just wanting to state the timing and our reason for how we've applied. And honestly, I will stop there unless there are any other questions.
Thank you. No, it's like I said, it's a pretty straightforward application from my perspective, so. May have some for you if rebuttal is necessary, but thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Anybody else on behalf of the applicant or tonight? Not that I expect anybody else, but okay, thanks. Okay, we'll go to public testimony and we'll start with persons in favor. If you want to speak tonight and you are in favor, it's your time. And, I'm sorry, I just realized that,
That's going to be an applicant card. Yeah, that blue one is an applicant.
okay.
So maybe for the other one.
It was, well, let's see. So this one is for Morse Retail, so that's second.
Yep.
And then Tara Lund, did you want to? Okay, all right, great. I apologize for that. So are there anybody that wants to speak in favor? Nothing online either? All right. Anybody opposed? Boy. Nothing online either. Just for the record.
Nope.
Okay. Rebuttal. It's going to be a tight one, I tell you. Okay.
David, I don't know, we tie in the staff presentation. I apologize for interrupting.
That's okay.
The condition around clarifying that the ODOT condition, should be struck. I don't know when you would want to address that. Is that during the staff final comments? or-
Let's do it now. I mean, we can, that way, if there is any comment from the
Yeah, I want to make
applicant.
sure the applicant
Yeah.
can weigh in.
Yeah, sure.
So we would be striking condition A12, which says the applicant shall not discharge water onto the railroad property as the water may damage the tracks, ballast, and ties. So we would be striking that because that came from ODOT, and instead we would replace it with condition A14. And I would just say the applicant shall comply with the comment letter from Portland and Western included as exhibit B6 to the record. And so that comment letter has all the details on the stormwater requirements.
And so it's Adam 12, striking that.
Strike that.
Okay.
And then adding, and usually we keep that number in there. We just strike it. And so
Reserved or
we would
whatever,
add,
right?
The next available condition would be A14, and that would be the applicant shall comply with the comment letter from Portland and Western.
Okay, that makes sense. And applicants rep, do you have any concerns about that, or you want to talk about that additionally? Okay.
Yeah, so the ODOT letter is going to be in the record exhibit B3 or 4.
Staff report, you mean? Yeah, there is a reference to it, I think.
Yeah, and so we can also update the, I don't think there's going to be a lot. It probably just says, there might be some text in there in the findings that actually talk about the storm. So we want to strike that as well. So any of the text that talks about the condition, trying to think where I put it in the staff report. So we'd want to strike that as well when we get to that.
I could have sworn there was something, but I just did a search for that, just ODOT. I didn't pop up.
Yeah, you know what? So there's no, I think we're okay. There's no analysis or findings on it. I put it on page 15 of the staff report. And that is just general conditions of approval related to the site plan. So kind of this catch-all for site plan conditions of approval, the agency comments we put under there, doesn't go anywhere else. So it's there's no analysis or anything that references the ODOT letter. So the way that we address the ODOT letter is just to include it in the record.
Sure.
And then,
Oh, yeah, it would stay in the
and
record.
then put the specific conditions of approval. And so the only one we need to strike as a result of the superseding comment is the A12. So we would just strike that one. And then the other comment from ODOT still stands. That's A11 that talks about the fencing, and that would still stand.
That makes sense to me. Yep.
I don't think there's anything else. I don't think there's anything else to do at this point.
But thanks, Eric. That's helpful. Okay, so I think we'll proceed accordingly, with the assuming approval, with that change to the proposed conditions. Let's see, where are we? I guess final comments by staff. I'm going to close the public hearing, excuse me. Final comments from staff.
No additional comments except for assuming the project is approved. Happy to welcome AFP Systems to Sherwood and look forward to working with them on the next steps.
Great. So as we talked about a couple times now, the record will be open for 7 days. So there will be an opportunity for anybody that wants to submit testimony, additional testimony, didn't get a chance to, however that works. It's written only, of course. Then that would close, and a decision from me would follow. And certainly, you said ideally, Eric, by the 28th of this month. That shouldn't be a problem at all. I'll probably talk to you all maybe even just tomorrow or something about form and that kind of thing. It's been a while since I've done one for sure, but that's to come. So for right now, I think that's it for this application. Thank you very much for your patience too. You want to take like 2 minutes for?
I'm good. I'm okay.
Okay, all right,
Keep
great.
going, let's keep going.
Let's do it. Okay, we'll jump into the next public hearing. I'll let people clear out. Is it the same architectural firm for both?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, it's great. All right. I'm going to call everybody. Good, Eric, you good? Okay. Call to order public hearing on file number 2022-18, site plan review for Morse Retail. And we'll go through the script again. So the public hearing tonight will be as follows. We'll get the staff report, and if I have questions, I will ask them. Then go to public testimony. Like last time, applicant 30 minutes. Think about rebuttal if you need it. I tend to think you probably won't, but it's up to you all to make that call. Then persons in favor and persons opposed, 4 minutes each. Then rebuttal if it's necessary. At that point, we will close the public testimony, and staff will have an opportunity for final comments. I'll have an opportunity for any final questions, and the record will remain open for 7 days, just like last time. If you're participating virtually and have signed up to speak 24 hours before tonight's hearing, staff will recognize you when it's your time and state your name and address for the record. And also for this hearing, we haven't gotten any requests. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And if you're in the audience and wish to speak, fill out this form. We've got one for this evening. When you do come forward, state your name and address. If there are questions as we proceed, please feel free to ask. In reaching a decision, I must consider whether the application meets relevant approval criteria in the city's land use regulations. Those criteria are identified in the staff report, and that is available online and has been available for at least 7 days prior to tonight. And testimony and evidence, I would ask that you keep it relevant to those criteria, or tell me why you think other criteria apply. Failure to raise an issue with enough detail to allow me, the applicant, and the parties in general to respond to the issue will preclude an appeal on that issue. And failure by the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues regarding proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow me to respond will prevent an action for damages in circuit court. Like last time, I've had no ex parte contacts, and I don't have any bias or conflicts of interest with respect to this application. That said, does anybody wish to challenge my ability to conduct the hearing? Pause. Nobody online. Great. We will proceed. Staff with the staff report.
Thank you again. David, happy to be Eric Rutledge, Associate Planner at the City of Sherwood, and happy to give this presentation as well, LU 2022-018, Morse Retail, also a site plan review. The applicant is Leslie Jones, also with CETA Inc., and the proposals for an 8,323 square foot commercial building and site improvements. Zoning on the property is commercial industrial, and again, this is subject to the city's type 3 land use procedures. An appeal would be with Planning Commission, and the application materials are shown here in red for reference if anyone would like to access them. Notice was provided in accordance with city code. It includes mailed notice to property owners within 1,000 feet of the site. The application was also routed to affected agencies, and those comments and conditions have been incorporated into the staff report. And similar to the last one, no public comments received on this application. Application timeline, pretty similar time frame. These dates are going to stay the same. We got this one to completeness, I think just a little bit after the previous application. And so the 120-day deadline is a little bit later. But just with our scheduling any potential appeals, again, we don't expect one, but we would hold the meetings on the same days as the last one. So same schedule as the last hearing. And the applicable criteria shown on this slide for reference. The staff report goes into detail on all of the standards, and happy to answer any questions on the criteria. No new information or revisions for this one, and also no public comments for this application. The site location is located on the north side of Tualatin Sherwood Road and be east of Highway 99. This is the Regal, we call it the Regal site, Regal Cinema here, and then some commercial buildings along Tualatin Sherwood Road. This is the Les Schwab in front of the site. The existing conditions, again, located behind the Les Schwab here. It's completely paved, no existing vegetation or significant structures besides the pavement that's been there. The zoning on the site is outlined here in blue. The zoning is general commercial, surrounded in all directions by either commercial or industrial zoning. So again, commercial uses to the west and to the south, and a self-storage and RV storage to the east. The zoning is again general commercial, and the use is permitted outright. They're coming in under general retail trade, not exceeding 10,000 square feet. We do understand this is a speculative multi-tenant commercial building. And again, the development standards, I won't go through all of them, but development standards for general commercial zone on the left and the proposed on the right, and the staff report findings that all of the development standards have been met. Height of the building is 18 feet with a height limit of 50 feet in the zone. I want to share the public improvements first. Is kind of tells a story, I think, of the property. The county, Washington County, is doing a road widening project on Tualatin Sherwood Road. So this is their graphic showing the widening, kind of a simplified view. So going from 3 lanes to 5 lanes, and addressing some of the congestion issues. I think the main thing that's affecting this site is the signal currently in this area is located here. So the signal is going to go away, and it's going to be replaced only with a signal in this location here. And then the sort of primary ingress and egress for this larger commercial center is going to come through this extension of Baylor Way. So this road doesn't exist now. It's going to be a local street under city jurisdiction, but the county is building it as part of their road widening project. And so, that's will be, I think, a very good thing for this site here to be able to take advantage of this new road. And so, again, the county envisions this intersection and this street, and then this easement coming in as the main access way into this Regal. This one's going to be restricted to right in, right out, and then restrictions here as well. So really trying to address the traffic in this issue, pushing back this signal to this location. So we do have the road is almost complete. The county has requested that the city come and do a final inspection in order to accept it. So it's very close to being accepted by the city. And so we don't see any timing issues. There is a condition of approval that the city accept this roadway prior to occupancy of the site. But given that the county's already requested us to be out there, and I don't see any issues with that timing. We'll accept it way before, but because it's not a formal city street at this point, we had to put that condition in there. So I just want to clarify kind of the access and how that works.
So is the city taking jurisdiction of it, or is it just a matter of accepting the public improvements to your standards?
It'll be a city roadway under city
Okay.
jurisdiction. Baylor Way will be, but the Tualatin Sherwood Road will stay under county jurisdiction.
Okay, got it.
Just a final note on that point, the county has requested an access management plan for them. They anticipate that while this is under construction, they will still be working on Tualatin Sherwood Road. It's a multi-year project, and so they've requested a construction access plan for the construction of this site in order to make sure it's compatible with their construction on Tualatin Sherwood Road. And then the site plan, the building is outlined here in purple, again, a multi-tenant commercial building, speculative, outdoor seating area here associated with the retail to the north, parking located to the east. This different hatching here is going to be a permeable pavement, and we're excited about that. I think it's the first one that we've approved, so I'm happy to get some friendlier, green friendly parking stalls in. 2 access ways to public easements or public right of way, one here and then one to the north here. Let's see. Oh, I think the other key point in terms of code here is that in order to obtain site plan approval, they came in under the commercial design review matrix. So that's a system that you have to obtain certain points for based on the design. So it covers building design, building location and parking and loading, landscaping, and then miscellaneous items. And so they've demonstrated compliance with that, getting the minimum amount of points. And that's where design elements like this green pavement come in. But that's how they're showing compliance with the site plan criteria.
That was cool. I didn't realize the code had that.
Yeah,
It's a nice option.
Yep, it is. And then the landscape plan, I think the only unique thing about this is that they are on interestingly, this is going to be a collector status road under city jurisdiction. And so we do have what we call a visual corridor requirement, enhanced landscaping along corridors. This is on private property. So this landscaping here is sort of beefed up landscaping at 10 feet wide along this future corridor, collector status road. Similar to the last application, 30% tree canopy is required for commercial projects, and the applicant's proposing 46.2% tree canopy to include these trees on the north side of the drive aisle. And the building design, again, they've gone through the building design review matrix and detailed analysis of that in the code. Here's a rendering of the building showing the multi-tenant spaces, and then the outdoor seating area on the north side of the building. And with that, staff recommends approval of LU 2022-018 Morse Retail, subject to the findings and conditions in the staff report dated August 25th, 2022, and no changes or revisions to this one.
Thanks, Eric. That was going to be my questions, whether there were any changes to either findings or a condition. Doesn't sound like it. So it's great. I have no further questions right now. We will go then to public testimony. We'll hear from the applicant first, and we'll go from there.
I think this will be pretty quick. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And for reviewing the project. My name is Leslie Jones. I'm the project architect and the applicant, and here representing also Jim Morris, the property owner. So I know he has owned this parcel of land for many years. And with the Baylor Way extension that Washington County is currently constructing, thought this would be an optimal time for development because of that increased exposure and access for this particular property. Eric mentioned it's a speculative development, so it's designed for anywhere between 1 to 4 tenants, and can be flexible in that way. As far as I know, there's no established tenants at this point in time. The building design is fairly simple and straightforward. It's primarily CMU, concrete masonry unit building with accents of Western red cedar. I know the owner's priorities there were to keep the building fairly simple, but have a flair of the Northwest flavor. So we added those wood components and exposed structure.
It's nice.
I'm happy to answer any questions, but I think that's what I've got.
Thank you, Leslie. No, I don't have any questions for you other than anybody else from your team want to present tonight, or is it just
Just
you?
tonight.
I guess that'd be the only question. Any issues with conditions of approval or findings, accept all the conditions?
Yes, they seemed to be consistent with our previous correspondence and discussions.
Great. Thank you. And nothing further from me.
Thank you.
You bet. We'll move on to public testimony. If there's anybody that's in favor, either here live or online. Nothing? Okay. Help the colleagues out. And then we'll move to persons opposed. Anybody opposed? Nothing online either. Okay. I will, just for the record, ask if you want rebuttal. I'm not sure what you'd rebut. Okay. I think we are pretty safe to close public testimony, so I'll do that now. And staff, anything further?
I probably should have mentioned on the last one, but just to clarify what we're doing here, since it's not being broadcast to YouTube, we'll post this to the city's page after this meeting, city's YouTube page after this meeting. So I guess if anyone's watching after this hearing, I think you're going to say this, but the record is open, so staff wants to say it as well. We welcome comments. Please provide them and we'll pass those on to the hearings officer if you have any.
Great. Thanks, Eric. And yeah, that was going to be my final comment, is just if there are, issues that come up and you want to have an opportunity to present those, you will have 7 days to do that in writing. That's all I got. I mean, both these applications were really, I will say, for both the applicants and the representatives and staff, which is very, very clear. It's nice when they're done that way. So, hats off to you all. I will just note for the record again that the 9/28 date should be obviously not an issue. And we'll wait to see what comes in if there is anything. But I think it's pretty likely that this would ultimately be approved.
Cool.
I think that's it.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah. Thank you. So easy.
And they're not all this easy.
Believe me, I can imagine.
We'll take it.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.